Hello, I'm Debbie Bell Hosking in the FinextraTV virtual studio, and I'm joined by Matthieu de Heering, who is the Global Head, Product Development, Capital Markets at Montran, and also by Alexander Khazaradze, who is the Head of Financial Markets, National Bank of Georgia. And we're going to be talking about trends in global capital markets. So if I turn to both of you, it's lovely to have you in our virtual studio. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Alex, I'm going to come to you first, if I may. For a Georgia perspective, what are the changes you are seeing around the capital markets and securities? And the question also is there something here that the international landscape can learn from?
Yes, definitely. From Georgia's perspective as a small market-based economy, we have seen significant impact of the recent geopolitical environmental changes on the ways how the markets operate. And we would like to highlight that the globalisation, which was very, very important trend over the last decade, is basically changing to more like fragmentation recently. So I would say that the domestic markets, especially small markets like Georgia, we have been trying very hard to improve our market infrastructure two ways, not just by connecting to the global capital markets via links of custody, like international custody services, etc., but we've been focusing on domestic market development as well, especially domestic infrastructure. And as you understand, the small market economy, it's not always financially feasible for private institutions to basically create systems, financial systems for settlement, for payments, etc. So as a central bank, we're the primary sponsor of these developments, and our investments basically are aimed for long-term benefit of the country and domestic markets as well. And I would like to highlight the importance of infrastructure for the development of the market, especially the secondary market liquidity as well. If we look at the small economies, again, there are few market players, and if we do not concentrate them on single platform and if we do not provide the infrastructure that makes trading easier, settlement easier, we will never be able to develop the liquid markets, which will be attractive to foreign investors. So our primary objective is to work partner with companies like Montran and others and assist the domestic relatively small market in its development. And we had a number of incentive initiatives from that standpoint. One of them is improving our CSD system, creating trade repository, providing better access to international capital markets, and of course, creating trading facilities as well, OTC trading facilities, to improve the market infrastructure. And of course, in these terms, having access to the partners who can provide such robust infrastructure is critical. And I would highlight that probably in near future we will be able to see the results of these investments, and hopefully the foreign investors will take notice and also will be able to join the Georgian financial markets and invest in domestic securities. And we try really hard to diversify in our capital market, not just by issuing new instruments, but also by providing multiple ways of accessing the domestic market.
Thank you, Alex.
Also,
if I may stop you there, I actually see Matthieu nodding. Yes. I'm going to jump to Matthieu, if I may, because, Alex, you're putting a strong emphasis there on infrastructure. But also, Matthieu, if I can come to you, please, for also a global perspective or point of view, if you like, on the changes you're seeing.
So very much, I would second what Alex has been saying. We've had the pleasure of working together with the colleagues at the National Bank of Georgia for decades at Montran. So I think indeed this sort of middle way between domestic focus and globalization, these regional pockets, is very much something that's come up. And that is a function of geopolitics. That is also a function of regions wanting to have their own sovereignty. And very much, I underline the point that Alex is making about liquidity, because while people like us like to think about making sure that the infrastructure is right, you always have to get back to the fact that this is all about making sure that the liquidity, the same dollar or euro or Georgian lari, which is going to probably fluctuate between a couple of instruments in a single region, don't have a lot of complexity, additional complexity and friction in order to generate the revenues that they want. So that's at the conceptual level what we see. And like I say, Alex has been a little bit too modest. In fact, many other smaller economies, like you put it, are taking example on the way in which the National Bank of Georgia has been unifying, standardizing, and developing and future-proofing their financial market infrastructure. And I know, different parts of the world, east, west, and south of Georgia, have been visiting and looking at the way those things are done. In particular, the link between debt markets, equities markets, and the payments leg, and the way that's all integrated. So it is really very much world-class, and it's a pleasure to be partnering along this road together with Alex.
And it's lovely, Matthieu, to hear you commenting there on the Bank of Georgia's work. And we were hearing earlier from Alex about the infrastructure. But I've got a question I wish to ask both of you, because this is Predict 2026 series, and we want to look ahead a bit. So, Alex, if I come to you first, what are some of the key markers for successful transformation you would like to see in place by the end of 2026?
There are many emerging technologies which are currently have been mentioned always in news, and also in discussing the new trends. And one of them, of course, is the tokenization technology, which is very popular. And other technologies that we could say could be related to blockchain or easy of access when it comes to the, trading securities and other, FX and other instruments. But again, it's less about the technology and more about the ease of access. And from our standpoint, having robust infrastructure, even if it does deploy, a cutting-edge crypto technologies, but still provides a good quality access to the financial services, that's a critical part. And I would say that from the central bank perspective, we do follow all the emerging technologies very closely, but again, from stability standpoint and from the standpoint of having a low risk tolerance for us, the currently not legacy, but traditional technologies and classical, I would say, approaches is probably preferable for now. And it will, maybe for next decade, will stay the same or will have the same approach. I'd like to Matthieu also to comment on that as well.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Over to you, Matthieu.
So over to me. I think there's a couple of things. And again, I'll sort of go in the direction that Alex started. On the one hand, we have all of the trends and the technologies that we read about. And my personal view here is that whether it's stablecoin on the cash side or other tokenization of perhaps more risky instruments on the security side, on the asset side, I think we may be in for a turbulent year in 2026. So I think making sure that our systems and also our economies are able to withstand what I expect to be a turbulent year is going to be very important. That's on the one hand. But I really would underscore the point about ease of access and the fact that you will want the investor to have fast, predictable, and directly usable access to the results of his or her investment. And whether it's an SME corporate treasurer, whether it's an individual investor or a pension holder, I think those primary beneficiaries, in addition to those custodians and fund managers and asset managers that Alex was talking about, we need to make sure that that tech is as usable and as easy to integrate as for decades the Amazons have been. And for a little bit less long, the payment space has been. And I think capital markets of whatever kind are the next frontier to that ubiquity, instantaneity. And I think we'll make many steps in that direction, in particular together with the National Bank of Georgia, but also across the world here in Montran. And that's very much a focus for us.
Thank you, Matthieu and Alex. It's been interesting. I think that ease of access, Alex, I think that's going to be one of the takeaways from this interview, and infrastructure as well. And it's been great hearing from both of you and your global and Georgia perspectives. Thank you so much for joining us here in the virtual studio.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.